Thanks for listening to GYST.
You're listening to Get Your Shit Together with Adina and Diane, a digestible health and fitness show for women.
Real quick, the content of this podcast is intended for general information only and is not medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Chat with your healthcare provider before making changes. Okay? Okay, cool.
I think they got it. Let's jump right into this week's episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of GYST.
Another one.
Another one.
We're on a roll. And if you're watching on the YouTubes, I think we found out our gamer girl setup here because the lighting is better. And thanks to Adina for being so patient with whatever was going on with the exposure last week. But we were saying maybe we need some strip lighting in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And
some
it would be a full-on YouTubes. Yes.
Some tube lights, some plants.
Uh-huh. Yeah, whole environment here. But
I did Google how you cover an air conditioner. And it seems a bit too involved for me.
It sounds like a whole home project.
Yeah, you could like build like a wooden box around it and hang some plants, but like I don't
sounds like a lot.
Think we're gonna do that. Love you gals, but no.
No, this is great. This is great. Summer's in full swing too here and most certainly there. So I don't think you want to cover that any bit more than you need to.
No, it's definitely hot here.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, we're super excited for this one and how to talk about how to get hydrated, stay hydrated, all that. But some fun stuff. We saw some cute reviews that you left. And why don't we start on that super high note before we do our little catch up?
I love it. Love these cutie reviews. Diane's our Reading Railroad. What's your name again? What's the thing you won?
Reading Rainbow?
Reading Rainbow Pizza Party.
Yes, the Pizza Hut party, the Scholastic Reader Award. I also just nailed my I've read 41 out of 40 books this year, and we're still going. It's only halfway through the year, but I'll also read this review. Look at me go. So this one is from Viv and Learn. I think it's from Vivi. Apologize if I mispronounced that, but she said 5 stars, like sitting and talking with your BFFs.
Aww.
GYST, this is hands down my favorite podcast. Aw, I've learned so much from Adina and Diane and know I'm in for a laugh every time I press play. I love that. They are down to earth and share the facts in a non-pretentious way. Bonus, they talk books, TV shows, movies, in every episode. My dream BFFs, LOL, with the heart emoji.
You're our dream BFF too.
Yes. I love chatting books, TV shows, and movies with you because, we've been consuming them. There's a lot to catch up on this season, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for leaving us some love. So with that in mind, should we talk about what we're consuming? Anything new?
Yes, we shall. Food. So I actually just made dinner. We just had dinner. And I made something I haven't made in a while, but I definitely talked about it a lot on like probably season 1 of this show. And I did an Instant Pot pulled brisket.
Ooh.
Yummy. So I just seared the brisket, threw it in the Instant Pot, and I did like a pseudo barbecue sauce with it. So I just poured in some tomato sauce, some apple cider vinegar, honey, garlic, just threw in a few cloves, and then just cooked it in the Instant Pot for like 50 minutes or so. And then I took it out, pulled it, and then threw it on a sheet pan and just broiled it for a bit to get it a little crispy. Yes.
That sounds amazing.
In the leftover barbecue juices, I put rice in the Instant Pot. And then I made this yummy rice bowl. I kind of wish I had like a fresh salsa to put on it, but just did a little cado, and it was delish.
Little cado. How do you feel about cilantro?
I love cilantro. Have we not talked about this? I feel like it had to have come up.
I know it's polarizing.
Yeah, I love it. Donnie doesn't really like it, so I don't use it so much. But it is quite yummy.
Yeah, we go through bunches. I mean, this is the season I go through bunches of herbs. And I'm glad that you found something you're excited about because when we outlined this episode, Adina said for food, surviving.
It just was boring around here. It was just like and I am using my new grill. And it is very nice to be able to do a ton of protein at once. Like,
yes,
I had like a fat pack of chicken fingers and they all fit on the grill at the same time, you know? That's nice.
Do you have Costco in Israel?
No, we don't.
And even if you did, I don't know that they'd have like a kosher Costco with just tons of kosher
Well, if they had
chicken
one in
fingies.
Israel, it would probably be kosher, but they don't. There is like a, I mean, yeah, they wouldn't have high quality proteins there.
Bummer. Well, I thought I was going to be surviving too. I was just kind of bored with food, and I had some aversions. I think I might have mentioned them in my pregnancy announcement at the end
Mostly
of our
chicken.
last episode was chicken. But
Oh, wait,
we're
sorry.
getting
Can I
along
interrupt
again.
you?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. You want to tell us about your chicken first, or should I interrupt you?
I don't know what you're interrupting me with.
I just
So you
wanted to
tell me.
talk about your photo shoot here.
Oh, yeah. And maybe people didn't catch the end of that episode and are like, what? Yeah. Diane caught a baby, and I'm now in my second trimester, like solidly. I think I'm 17 weeks now.
She's cooking.
Yeah, but we did a little photo shoot to announce it last week.
Did they laugh at you? Like, how did the photographer feel?
They loved it. So
Okay.
it was at JCPenney, and maybe some of you have seen people do this with family portraits, engagement shoots, and maternity shoots. So we went into JCPenney, booked this little session, walk ourselves through this entire store that I haven't been in like 15 years. I don't know. And I told them we want to do an awkward, cringy maternity shoot. And they go, oh, okay. And they have a whole photo guide because people have done this so much, these types of shoots, that corporate created a pose guide. But
I love that so much.
it was still a hoot because we had ideas. I came prepared with some ideas of our own. Neil had some ideas. We had to do the prom photo. We had to do what my brother is calling my WWE pose, where I'm kneeling and Neil's like crossing his arms behind me,
So
serious faces. But then the photographer was like, why don't you two turn around and put your hand in each other's back pockets? Stuff like that.
So
Just
good.
ultimate cheese. I couldn't do corn for this one or like a serious corny shoot. It just isn't me. So this felt so fun. And they send you towards the front of the store, the waiting area, while they're preparing your photos. And I could hear the photographer chuckling from the back. And then they give you a preview, right? And this made me laugh. They said, all right, we have a bundle option that we would like to offer to you where you can get a big canvas print or a metal print, or we can print a photo of your choice on a blanket, a queen size blanket. I'm like, I think we're good.
We're good for blankets. Thank you.
But now I'm like, maybe I should have sent one to my parents for a little gifty, and they just have to look at this super awkward, silly photo shoot.
So good. So good.
So yeah, photo shoot. But chicken and I were not getting along for a bit. It wasn't like I don't think it would have made me vom. I was lucky to have not felt nauseous or to have vomited the entire first trimester. But the idea of chicken, one of my loves, my former loves, was just repulsive until like last week.
I get that. I think that one happens for a lot of people.
It's like our lizard brain is like, no, it's not safe. And we're like, we have refrigerators now. It's fine.
Yeah. We have refrigerators.
But I think too, I mean, how
a
can you
bug.
be upset with a chicken thigh with crispy skin on top? Like,
Delish.
so good. So I made this for friends yesterday. And actually this weekend we had 2 sets of friends that we haven't seen in a long time because they live out of state. My friends came up from Chicago and we grilled pizzas. Amazing. And then yesterday, my friend Topsy and her husband were visiting from California, and I made this repeat dish from Allison Roman's cookbook. It is chicken thighs, bone and skin on, of course, with caramelized dates, lemons, and shallots. It's a one-pot meal, mostly hands-off except for frying the chicken skin. It's so good.
So yummy. That combination sounds very Adina Sussman also.
It does. And I made Israeli salad, or as you would just say, salad.
Salad. There is a bug in here. So those on YouTube are watching my eyes wander.
Just like a big bug?
It's not a mosquito. Remember when I killed a mosquito last time? Is it a mosquito? No, I think it's just like a gnat, but it is very distracting. So I got to rein it in. But anyways, we're glad that you were able to eat chicken again. We're very happy for you.
It's so good.
And that sounds
And it came
delicious.
from a cookbook that was like, it's an entertaining cookbook, which I just hear as I'm gonna have leftovers. But of course, we did share with pals and had key lime pie. It was amazing.
Yum.
I love feeding friends. Yeah.
I could really use a good like dessert. we're probably going to go to Manara again on Thursday. So
Best restaurant. I have a friend that was actually just in Israel, but she was there for like volunteering and such, and was like, "Oh, I won't have any time to go to any of those
do the
places
fun
on the
stuff.
Google Maps."
Yeah,
I have
that's
a
a
whole
bummer.
Google Maps. Thanks to you, like there were a bunch that we hit, and some that I think we were thinking of when we were there, and now my mouth is watering for some Manara.
Come on down. It's really baby friendly here.
It's just getting them there.
I know, truly. It's quite a flight, I'll tell you that much.
Well, did you watch anything? I did not watch Hacks. I'll just say that I'm still.
Can you freaking finish
time
it? We
out.
gotta talk about it.
I've been tearing through the books,
She's reading books.
and hosting.
She's reading books and socializing.
Yes, and playing outside.
Hermit and watch some television like a normal person.
No, I watched nothing last week. Nothing really.
I watched something very wonderful, and it was such a lovely experience. So basically, we have a friend who has been just really into film and video since we were younger. And he was like the guy in high school who just like always made like the spoof videos and all that stuff. He actually made my bridal shower video like with Donnie and some other friends, which is really funny. I don't know if we've ever talked about
Wait,
this.
is this the one where Donnie runs into Justin Long in the
Yes,
park?
it is. So anyways,
I still remember that.
so funny. Maybe I'll pull a clip for it. I have to find it. But so our friend Daniel, I had been joking with him at that time, like, one day Justin Long is going to be presenting an award to you and you'll have to be like, oh my God, we've met before. So anyways, our friend Daniel, he's made like a couple of horror films and
Oh, that's a genre switch.
Well, it's a little easier to get noticed in horror because they're cheap to make, and then you can get into these like horror specific festivals. So it was kind of just like a getting started indie thing. But he finally wrote this comedy, like a family drama comedy. And Donnie and I had actually read the script COVID times and chatted with him. Like, we had last year when we were in for Passover, we went to see a rough cut screening. And then they got into Tribeca Film Festival.
Big deal.
Huge deal. And it happened to be that Tribeca was the week that Donnie and I were in for my cousin's wedding this summer. So we were so excited to be able to see his movie in Tribeca, and just like what a fun experience to have a friend with a movie in Tribeca. But basically that's what I've been consuming. So the movie is called Bad Shabbos, and it's like a Meet the Parents kind of thing where there's this Jewish family that lives on the Upper West Side, and the son brings home his non-Jewish fiance for Friday night dinner, and her like Midwestern parents are coming to the dinner. But before the non-Jews arrive at the Shabbat meal, the Jewish family ends up with a dead body on their hands. So it's like a lot of hijinks with them trying to cover up the situation, hide the dead body before the Goyim in-laws arrive.
Because dinner must go on.
And it's just really silly and really fun for people with any familiarity around that Shabbat meal, family stuff. But we were actually standing outside the theater with our friend Daniel, the director, after the movie. And we were like, it's very specific. Like, is this going to reach a broader audience? And then a Filipino guy came up to him and was like, this was so nostalgic and hilariously triggering for me for bringing my girlfriend from Arkansas to my Filipino
Who's not
dinners.
Filipino.
Yeah. So we were joking about how specificity is universal. But anyways, it was so delightful, and I really hope they get picked up by a streamer so that all of you can see it. Call your favorite streamers and tell them that you want to see Bad Shabbos. But yeah, we were so proud of him, and it was just so fun. It was so fun to just celebrate him and get to meet some of the actors and hang out. And it's like a really fun cast. It's great. It was fun.
Cute. Well, now I want to see how that experience that this couple has relates to like bringing people home into my Filipino household growing up.
Yeah.
I think, Neil met both of my grandparents. I mean, that would be the funniest interaction would be like seeing my grandparents and the way that they shove you out the door with leftovers and ask you 1,000 questions and just all those fun extended family things.
Yeah, so good. But yeah, it was really fun. And then like, I feel like our last trip to New York, I had that feeling. Our trip was too long, Passover, like it was 3 weeks, and I had that feeling of like, I gotta get out of here. But this trip was so short, and we did such fun like summer in New York stuff. You know, like we went to a really close family member's wedding, and we got to go to Tribeca, and just like walking through the summery streets of New York with the sun setting, I was like, oh wait, do I miss this?
Do I want to come back for longer time?
No. But yeah, it was really fun, and
not quite.
The movie was great, and the experience was great, and that's what I've been consuming.
Nice. Maybe you'll read a book by next time, and I'll watch the end of Hacks.
I don't think I'll read a book. I've been just like turning some pages on just like some business development stuff, but
working.
You know, boring.
I read books for play. Although now, so I set a goal for myself thinking 40 books, and I count audiobooks. I will fight people on that. That's the hill I will die on, because some people are like, oh, you're not reading. I'm like, then how do I know everything that happens? How did I know everything that happens in the book then? And like,
well, let me ask you this though. Like, what if kids like never learned how to read and they just like listen to audiobooks? How would you feel about that?
Right. Well, I think that you'd say if it didn't count, you'd be ableist. So
right.
It counts.
Right.
And I just love soaking them up, but I read 41 books so far. A lot of them were on my Kindle, so a lot of them I was literally reading with my eyeballs instead of my earballs. But I have a couple of pregnancy books that I can now add there, that's the rare nonfiction that I consumed, but I didn't want to add them until after my announcement. So
what'd you read? You read Real Food for Pregnancy?
Oh, that one I read years ago. And I wonder if I did put that up there. I feel like I didn't put several work-related books on there. But yeah, love Real Food for Pregnancy. That's always one I recommend to clients. There's a lot of overlap there. And then Expecting Better, I liked that one. So I'm trying not to read a ton of books around it. I'm just honestly just kind of winging it. And there's a lot that I feel like I knew but hadn't firsthand experienced just from serving so many clients through preconception and pregnancy. So that's fun, but now I can add a couple of them on there and people won't be like, oh, I knew it. That was one thing with the announcement. Everybody was really sweet. And I forgot to say thanks to everyone who sent messages, because a lot of them listened to last week's episode and sent me DMs and said that they gasped. Like, I'd say no less than like 10 people said, I gasped.
I wanted them to gasp.
Yes. So they gasped and said so many sweet things. And there were just a few odd, like weird comments, and I had to nip it in the bud with a boundary. Someone, like, I thought you got a breast dog. Like, let's not say stuff like that.
The boobies.
The boobies. I'm thinking of the musculus.
My musculus.
My boobies do be popping, and I love a compliment. Don't get it twisted, but like, don't be weird about it. We're in a vulnerable state.
I think we're going to have to do a whole episode about this, like pregnancy announcements or like pregnancy body image stuff.
Yes. Actually, a few women said I didn't think to set this boundary with family when I was pregnant, or, you know, I felt really sensitive and people would say things to me and I wouldn't know how to react. Like, I come ready with the clapbacks. So I like a nice warning, and then after that, I will clap back.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. And there were a few listeners asking for some of your experience through this time. So whatever you want to share, we could totally do an episode around that. But that's that. I think that's it. We basically were consuming very few things. Yeah,
books and some exciting chicken. And now, I mean, we typically call the rest of the episode the meat, but I think today it's going to be the juice.
It's the juice.
The juice and maybe a snack to go with it, if you know us. So, yeah, so why this episode? Adina, why are we talking about juice right now, but at length?
I'm feeling a lot like I should have brought myself a juice for this episode. Diane has her juice on behalf of both of us.
And you can't see my cheese and crackers. I ate that before, so Adina didn't say, Diane, can you please back away from the mic with your noshing?
Yeah, so this episode, I mean, it's summer. It's hot. We need hydration. And we love eating seasonally. There's lots of juicy fruits in season now.
A lot of melons.
Get your tatas out the frame.
A lot of melons.
Yes, the juicy fruits be juicing. We are noticing like the mocktail juice trend
As we
taking
call them,
over.
macaques.
Macaques.
Diane says cock-a-clock.
I called it a mocktail only because like everyone else on the internet isn't as funny, so they call it a mocktail. But call it by its proper name.
Are they talking about vibrators this episode? Is this about toys?
It's mock-cock-a-clock, my friends. So speaking of which, I was looking for a new this is unrelated to this episode, but I was looking for a new pelvis model because I really want one with organs.
So niche.
I know.
Okay.
I really want one with the removable organs when I'm talking about like the rectum and stuff. Like I like to be able to show people how the muscles
An inner
interact.
bubble.
Yes. But I'm like, should I get this in the States and have my parents bring it for me? Or is there somewhere here I can order it from? And I found this website called like toys.com. And I'm like, are we saying the same thing? Like, this is an anatomical model of the pelvis.
Did something pop up to ask if you were over 18
No.
when you got to the website?
It might just be like a weird Israeli translation, but like, why is it called toys?
Toys. Well, if you get it, you'll have to show the class.
I'll have to let you know.
On the YouTube.
Anyway, so, you know, with mock cock clock coming round the clock, we've been noticing.
Coming round the clock.
Y'all, I'm tired. My contacts are getting dry.
I'm too immature for this. Someone's gonna laugh at that funny you just made. Yeah, with seasonal fruits, with mocktails trending. I mean, we both love them, but with some caveats. We wanted to talk about juice and fruit with those caveats here, because if you listen to any of our episodes about anything, we have nuance and we have some takes on these trends. And we especially wanted to talk about juice and fruit in summer because of things that we notice with clients. And we want to have a conversation about blood sugar or insulin resistance, if that's something you deal with, or you have PCOS, or something that I know that we both hear of is I've been rapidly gaining weight and what the heck is up with that? Or maybe you have cycle concerns. And so there are some things we want to think about, like, yes, we love juice, we love fruit, and we're not going to demonize it and call it candy, but we want to talk too about how our perspective has changed over the last few years as NTPs and strength training professional.
Yes.
To juice.
Whenever things start trending, we're like, okay, we got to talk about this because are people applying this correctly?
Yeah, totally. So I guess to set it up, how did we get here? Because I think we both have stayed aligned on this throughout the years, but we had similar experiences through childhood that got us here and through our coursework and work with clients.
Yeah. I mean, if you've heard us on any episodes, both of us grew up with blood sugar issues, like way too much juice. I mentioned actually on like the last episode or the one before that I grew up around the corner from a 7-Eleven, and like Slurpees were just like a regular thing that we drank. Like, how many ounces were those things? Like the giant one was a bazillion ounces.
Yeah, no one eats that. And what flavor did you get?
Definitely Coca-Cola. It was also tricky because some flavors weren't kosher, and then they would become kosher, and it was kind of like,
interesting.
Yeah, like there was excitement around when a flavor became kosher. So I think like definitely Coke. Definitely the blue one we talked about. What was it called? Blue Raz?
Blue Raz. Probably has some Blue Raz, unless I'm confusing Taco Bell.
Yeah, maybe. No, what was it called?
Mountain Dew.
It was called... Oh, I got to look this up now.
There's also a red one if you are interested in Red 40.
Yeah, no, it was... I actually never really liked the red one. It was about the blue one. It was about mixing the Coke with the blue. And sometimes Fanta, but that was like a little too much for me. I wasn't really
that's wild.
A Fanta gal.
So we grew up with, I definitely had Slurpees, slushies. That's something different. Slurpees. And for me and my house, I thought this was healthy. And I'm surprised I didn't have more blood sugar issues than I did. I mean, I played outside in summertime from sun up to sundown. So I was running around all crazy, but Sunny Delight, Sunny D, that was an after school thing with some Oreos, which is not a combo that I would think. Like I would have my Sam's Club little pack of Oreos, and then I would have Sunny D, and I would go home and have pandesal, which is from a Filipino bakery. They're great fresh rolls, but I would slather some some peanut butter on a hot roll, Jif peanut butter. So there was a lot of sugar happening. And then another thing that was very prevalent in our household was Juicy Juice, the Minute Maid Juicy Juice. Did you ever have that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
No,
It's
I
a
didn't.
throwback.
Yeah,
And
wow.
Juicy Juice, and of course, and I guess this still exists, but I seldom see kids drink them, Capri Suns, where you
Yeah.
stab.
There's a version of it here that people drink. Gross.
Gross. And it's like, it was
Gross.
always hot
Yeah,
in my
gross.
lunchbox, like hot juice. No, but I thought, this is health. This
Yes.
is healthy. I have
I
juice.
am a picture of health.
Because it's always fortified with calcium and the D and other
Yeah.
things, but
Yeah. And then, so that was like childhood. And then I went to school first I went to school for personal training, and I was like steeped in the fitness industry where there was so much like polarity of like juice cleanses. But then the people who were like my quote unquote school of thought was like, don't drink your calories. Like, you can't have all that juice. You can't have juice.
that's nature's candy.
You can't have juice. Like, if you're drinking calories, it's going to be like a protein shake, Juice.
Juice. Yeah, I think even through the Nutritional Therapy Association, when we went through the program, there was a lot of like, well, limit the fruit. I know right out the gates, I was doing like a sugar detox, which had some good principles to it and made people mindful or aware of how much sugar is hiding in packaged foods. And I think that had great benefit, right? But I think the way that it approached fruit in some ways wasn't the way that I would do it now.
Yeah, and I'm so curious to hear if they've shifted their perspective at all.
Well, it's no longer offered. It's 21. It was a 21-day sugar detox.
No, I'm
program.
saying in the Nutritional Therapy Association. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have seen them share some like reels on their account that lean a little more
trendy.
Fruit heavy. But yeah, I'm curious. I'd be curious about that. But I do think, like you said, the awareness, I think when we think about it in the context of the standard American diet, and there are people slamming juice, then it's like, okay, let's bring awareness to just the quantity of carbs and sugar throughout the day. But what ends up happening is that in the context of a health-giving diet, a real food-forward, protein-forward diet, if we're still demonizing juice and fruit without any context, without any nuance, that can become problematic. So yeah, I think it kind of took that evolution for us to dig deeper and look at how we were serving clients. I know for sure the first few clients I worked with were not eating nearly enough carbs.
Mm-hmm. Or especially if they came from chronically dieting or training heavily, that kind of gets ingrained that, well, that's sugar, and I'll save my calories for wine, which is also fruit juice.
Yeah, and also questionable perspective.
Yeah. So things have shifted. And then now too, and many of you listening may be familiar with this if you've dabbled in any way in like holistic health Instagram, a big current trend that I'm seeing in food journals is pounding juice, orange juice, and then now cherry juice in the evening. And I can dabble with some of those, but I think that the degree that I'm seeing it in some food journals and seeing it poured up on the gram, I'm like, is this fitting? Is this fitting for the goals that you've described? And where can we bring more nuance to this? Because maybe someone too is listening and thinking, okay, well, what's going to be the takeaway? How much juice for me? And it's going to vary, like we were hinting at earlier, depending on your age, your cycling season, your activity, right?
Your muscles.
Your muscles, your body, like all kinds of things. So yeah, there's not one answer, but I think a big trend is that people are now going hard. They went from juice cleanses several years ago to now we're pounding a big glass of orange juice. We're pounding some tart cherry juice at night to manage our blood sugar issues that maybe we would go about differently with food.
Yes. So I think what we want to bring to this conversation is like pros, cons, and context for juice.
Yes. So With that, I'm gonna sip on. Well, this is some diluted
It looks
water
like
juice.
sun tea, if you know what I mean.
Sun tea. It looks to me kind of like
Urine.
someone's dehydrated.
Yeah.
It does.
Do you know that
It's
30
also the
Rock
lighting.
episode? You know that 30 Rock episode where Frank is like peeing in all those jars and putting them out the window? No? Okay, I'll send it to you. Her face.
Great visual.
Yeah.
It's a potty. We did see a stand-up comedian a couple weeks ago where he's talking about how he lives in his van, and he's like, I mean, what's a bathroom? What's a bathroom like? Is a Gatorade bottle a bathroom? Because I have a 1-bedroom, 5-bath.
Gross.
Gross. So pros.
All right,
Shall we
pros.
start on a high note?
Yeah.
I think we have an outline that way.
Yes. Pros.
Yeah. So we like juice and fruit because it's hydrating, especially when it's hot as fuck outside and just
Yeah.
regular water won't do. And it's hydrating because it's packed with vitamins and minerals, those antioxidants, which we love. And it can come in real handy if you are training and active. You're doing beach volleyball, you're chasing Ori around on the beach, or
That nutty
a few
man.
crazy kids.
Yeah. Like you may notice that you crave these things in the summer for a
Yes.
reason. We did an amazing episode about cravings, but
I was
you should
making a note.
Yeah, go back and listen to that one. But it's possible that you don't crave these things because you've been drowning out that noise for so long if you demonized fruit and juice. But if you really like dial it in and clear out some of that food noise from artificial stuffs, you might notice that you're really craving more sugar. You're craving specifically juices, juicy fruits in those hot,
like-
sweaty summer months.
Some melon. Can I just say, like, some right now? And I saw a reel. It was like, who else is in their second trimester and needs fresh, ripe watermelon? I'm like,
Yep.
that is a current favorite.
I'm not in my second trimester. I'm not pregnant, but I am craving watermelon as well.
I love it. And I like pre-cut, and then I keep stumbling on, I mean, this could be another episode too, is like all the things you're not supposed to eat pregnant. They're like, do not eat pre-cut watermelon. I'm like, the convenience.
Excuse me?
I'm gonna eat that pre-cut watermelon. That's
Yeah.
that's the luxury I desire.
Yum. Yeah, that's been the watermelon. Like if you ever are walking on a hot day and you just start craving like a smoothie or like a fruit ice pop, that's those cells talking. They're looking for some mineral hydration.
Right. And maybe there are other times, like you were saying, seasonally, and I know we definitely talked about this in our cravings episode, where in January, a popsicle, no thank you, missed me with that popsicle. And I don't typically put ice in my drinks, but when it's 85 or the humidity's on level 1000, I want that to hydrate me.
Yep.
When I'm sweating buckets. Yeah, totally. So they're packed with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, those things that can energize you down to a cellular level. We love that. And I always think now in context of HTMA, because I've been swimming through those this past month as they come in. But I like certain juices, or I guess coconut's technically a fruit, but she's kind of like her own thing. I love got coconut water to help bump up some minis like potassium.
Those
Some
tropical
minerals
fruits will do it too.
Yep, those minerals that we love to yeet out of our body when we're sweating or stressed. So that's a nice thing to bring into a mocktail mix or popsicle. And it's soothing. So that's another thing too. We can't ignore that there's also like nostalgia. It's just summer and fruit and refreshing bevies. It feels good.
Yeah, it feels
soul.
good in the body for a reason. You know, sugar feels good.
Yeah. And we also love juice and fruits around workouts. So you want to talk a little bit about why that's a pro?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to be fueling and recovering from your workouts properly. And we've all had that experience where you start your workout and you just feel like you hit a wall. And you're like thinking that maybe, like, this is when we start to tell ourselves those stories where we're like, oh, maybe it's because I'm in this phase of my cycle that I can't work out. Perhaps you just need to slam some juice and you'll feel fine. You know,
Yes. Instead of a Pop-Tart. Or I'm thinking too, like after a workout or heading into a workout, I don't want like brown rice or something dense. I want something that I can utilize. And we'll talk more about how to use juice best or fruit best around our context section. But yeah, it can be a nice alternative to something that we don't like Gatorade or C4 or the powders that some lady lifters just put straight to their dome. Like,
yeah, no, it pro for carbs, especially easy carbs like juice, can be really helpful around a workout. And they're just yummy. Like,
yeah.
juice is so yummy.
And the ingredients, I mean, provided you're not drinking like my fortified Sunny D.
Yep.
Or juice that's been kind of ruined. But you have some fresh juice or some fresh fruit. That can be nice. So some cons of juice.
Yeah.
Kind of just touched on this one. Many brands add shitty quality vitamins. There's a brand, for instance, that I do like. I think it's Uncle Matt's. Uncle
Matt's. Yeah.
Uncle Matt's. Yes. And there is one that is just straight up fresh organic orange juice, but they also have one that's like their
like immunity blend or whatever.
Their immunity blend that has D and A and some other forms of shitty forms of vitamins in there that I'm like, we didn't have to do all that.
Yes, I was going to say that. I'm glad you brought it up. Even within the same brand, sometimes there is one that's great and others that are not ideal. So if you have like a partner who does the shopping, or I know like when I go to my parents' house and they try so hard to get the stuff we want, which is so sweet, but sometimes I'm like, did you turn it around and look at the ingredients though?
They're tricky. Some labels are so similar.
Yeah, sneaky stuff. Sneaky stuff. But yeah, you always want to read those ingredients, even if it's something you've bought before. I feel like recently when I was in America, we bought like some gluten-free cookie or something that we always used to buy. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even read the ingredients. So they used to use palm oil and now they use canola. And that's a bummer.
They're cutting corners, trying to save some cash. I hate when they switch up a formula on you.
So annoying. Yeah, King Arthur does that too. Like randomly, it's like just what you want in there. And then sometimes there's all these like fortified iron stuffy stuffs.
Oh, I know. Oh, man, I still go hard for those brownies though.
So good.
Their brownie mix, gluten-free or not, they're just so fudgy.
Gooey.
Yeah. And speaking of fudgy gooey brownies, juice, big hit of sugar.
Yes.
So
this is a pro and a con.
Pro and a con. Yeah, look what we did there. Big hit of sugar, especially if you are going for the pulp free, which I mean, I'll be honest, is my preference because I just hate the texture of orange juice with stuff I'm gonna have to immediately floss out of my teeth afterwards. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I juice my own oranges here a lot, and
you have a big old press. I love that thing.
Yeah, and like Donnie needs us to strain it, and I'm like, you don't mind it? I don't mind it. Ugh, I don't mind eating my juice.
Chewing it up a bit. And I remember actually when we were going through our nutrition program, they did talk about including the pulp for fiber, which we're going to be talking about this more in our context section. For me, it's just a personal preference, and I'm like, I'd sooner add some other things to keep my blood sugar stable. But yeah, big hit of sugar otherwise. So what I see often on food journals is people might have a big old glass of orange juice, or they're making that sleepy girl mocktail with cherry juice, and it's just a lot of juice at one time. Yeah.
Yes. And then the biggest thing that I think we need to talk about that cannot be ignored is histamine, because we see people slamming juice on account of the internets told them to, and then they're itchy and they're stuffy and they are not making the connection.
Yeah, itchy and stuffy. So histamine, this goes out especially to seasonal allergy girlies. And those of you who might be in denial, we'll talk about some other signs that juice and histamine intolerance is an issue for you right now. I see this so much because I deal a lot with the gut stuff. I've been looking through so many food journals lately, but sometimes people might either be in denial or just not know what to look for with this. And they're like, I've been adding an orange juice and then I'm shitting butt water right after breakfast. They might not say that exactly, but they're like, all right, They got the OJ, they have some dairy, some other high histamine foods. And then afterwards, they're immediately in the bathroom. Maybe they're stuffy, puffy later, but other ways that you might have a histamine issue manifest that you might not think of is some anxiety or pulse racing. That's kind of generally like a food reaction symptom that a lot of people aren't aware of. Like, are you feeling like your heart's racing after you have something? And then
itchies, that eczema flaring.
Yeah, eczema. So some of my clients will like kind of experience that on their face, but maybe itchy scalp. I've had that come up several times recently with folks, and they might not feel like they have quote unquote gut issues otherwise, but a lot of them too will have a lot of cycle issues. And then when you have high estrogen, you have more histamine. So you might notice that you don't tolerate that glass of juice, that orange juice, or those really ripe bananas towards the end of your cycle. And you're just like, I'm stuffy, my stomach hurts for a number of reasons, puffy. So that might kick up more at the end of your cycle when estrogen and histamine are just partying. So
Partying.
Gut and allergy connection here for sure.
Yeah, and something I want to say about that before we go any further is that doesn't mean that orange juice is a bad food. And that doesn't mean that orange juice is a bad food for you forever. Like, I think this is something we talk about a lot, where like when we first started working with clients, maybe we did some food sensitivity testing years ago when we really incorporated that into our practice. We've since both moved away from that. But we would give people a list of foods that were issues for them at that time. And maybe we worked with a client for 3 months, and the goal was always to reintroduce those foods. But I've had clients who tell me like, oh, I worked with you 2 years ago and I still haven't eaten a blueberry. And I'm like,
yes, me too. I'm like, girl, in your plan, we were meant to reintroduce that afterwards.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where like it gets in your head where you're like, oh, I finally feel better. And then you think that those foods were the problem. And it is very true that if you're currently struggling with a massive histamine overload and your body is not clearing that histamine well, we might want to limit some of those high histamine foods like juices, especially citrus juice, especially when you buy a citrus juice from the store on Friday and then it sits in your fridge till the following Friday.
At least. Yeah. And it was sitting in the store for a few days. I mean, a while before that.
Yeah. So maybe something like swapping to, I mean, I guess we can get into this more in the context section, but swapping to fresh squeezing your own orange juice and squeezing it the day of. Like, I squeeze my one orange right into my glass, and that's what I have for breakfast. And I do much better with that when my eczema is an issue.
Right. And yeah, I think too, if people realized if you're having a glass of orange juice, and this is like an old Rayo's jar with my matcha that's like at the end here. But if you had this and you have like half full with orange juice, that's a lot of oranges in one sitting. And to get the benefit of those beautiful vitamins, antioxidants that we were just talking about, and minerals, then you don't need that much juice. Or there are other things that we want to consider for, I don't know, the context of a breakfast or something. But yeah, like Adina is saying, the longer that juice sits in the fridge in that carton, the more you're going to have an issue, especially if you're someone who has a history of gut issues, you have a lot of seasonal allergies. I see this so much because people are hearing the benefits of juice, but not realizing how that applies to their situation. And oftentimes with this too, I also see women adding in a lot of dairy when years prior, they were an almond milk girly. They had oat milk. And another thing that's great on paper, but can your body tolerate it well right now? And so if you have a lot of orange juice at breakfast and you have yogurt, or you have a moo milk latte and you're having cheese on your 3 eggs, like, great things on paper, but then what's happening after breakfast? How's your tummy feeling? Are you feeling anxious and your heart's racing? Like, there are a lot of things that we think of. And so it might just not be for you right now, or maybe we need to switch up how you're getting vitamin C. So we talked about histamine, but something that I'll see a lot on the HTMA is someone has a lot of seasonal allergies. They're not reacting well to juice and maybe to dairy. Really low copper, really low main minerals, like the first 4 on their test, like sodium, potassium. And so there are other forms of getting in vitamin C if that's what we're after. There are other ways to get you to sleep through the night besides cherry juice. Like, we'll get into that in the context, but I had just lay it out there because I have seen it a lot this spring, summer.
Yep, it's ticking up. And another piece of that too is some fiber is nice. Like I think, yeah, we don't want to be like slamming fiber, especially if you have gut issues. But I think part of this juice trend is people are thinking that they're getting their fruit from those juices, and then they're not eating physical fruits or vegetables alongside their proteins. And again, not that you need to be slamming these things, but we do need a certain quantity of fiber for
And I
optimized
think
digestion.
a lot of women following that trend of OJ and dairy and maybe raw dairy, they also have heard that veggies are bad. It's all kind of like there's a template that some people are following that's they've banished veggies. And like we were saying, yeah, if you have gut issues, we don't want to be eating lots of like raw broccoli from that office veggie party tray or a lot of things that are going to make you bloat and gas up. But there are gentle ways of do that, cooking greens or roots and things. But this also reminds me of one of my favorite ingredients that I like to put into my mocktails, Olipop. I like a fun little drink, and I'm not drinking it to heal my gut. I think that people saw the poppy controversy recently, and they're like suing them because like this is not going to cure your gut. And people are like, I want my fun little drink. Like I like it because it's a fun drink. Well, I saw this TikTok of this guy, and he had an Olipop, and he's like, why did no one tell me there's 9 grams of fiber in each can? I've had 6 of these today.
Oh no.
I was like, oh no. He's like, I went to the gym after having a few.
No. But
Clear
that
them
right
out.
there, context. It's not that
not a lot, baby
Olipop
girl,
is
just
bad. It's just don't have 6.
It's a fun little drink, and it's not your gut health plan.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't even do like a full can of anything. Even like Spindrift, it's too
Same.
much. I need maybe that's 3 servings for me and water it
And I
down
think
with some coconut
sometimes-
water and ice.
On the can, I think Olipop serving does say 1 can, but there are other drinks where it'll say this has 3 servings per can, and I can't do many bubbles either. So Neil knows, like he'll open one and like I have like a third to a half, and then he will have a couple.
Yeah.
He likes the bubbles.
I remember that actually, that's such a throwback to like fitness industry stuff. I remember like we thought we were like bursting the bubble when we found out that like vitamin water had like 2.5 servings in the bottle, That was like such a fun thing to show clients. Like, do you know how much sugar you're drinking?
I mean, it is tricky. Like, how are you going to have a bottle that fits in my hand and tell me that there's like 5 servings? Like, so can we get like really cute little bottles of things?
I feel
That'd
that
be
way about
nice.
wine. Like, I feel like a bottle of wine is just
want a
too
child's
much.
pour.
Yeah.
There are sometimes mini bottles of wine. I want like a kid's pour. Or like when we go, we like to get sushi and then walk across the street. If you're local to me, Maru Sushi, I love it. And then, because yes, I'm still eating that pregnant. And then across the street is Furniture City Creamery, and they have unique flavors. And I like to get a kid's size because even a single size is so big.
So big.
So big. Actually,
Wait,
I'm
I
gonna
wanted
link.
to say something about sushi. Is this just an Israel thing, or do they have pregnant sushi on the menu there?
Pregnant sushi? No, well, I think
It just means the fish is cooked. But like,
I think they'll just ask for it here, or they order
Yeah.
vegetarian sushi, which I would never do.
ew.
that
Can I
gross?
have a hot take about sushi? So I feel
Yes.
like growing up, I don't know if this is a hot take. Growing up, I feel like the only sushi I knew about was like maki with like the seaweed on the outside. And then at some point in like high school or something, like everyone started making inside out rolls where like the rice was on the outside. And then I just got used to that, and that's what I thought of as sushi. And then last week I ordered with the seaweed on the outside. It's so much better with the seaweed on the outside.
Everything's intact.
You just taste the seaweed more. Like, I'm a maki girl now.
There's also some that are wrapped. There's a roll here that's wrapped in like a soy paper or something. And then, of course, I like nigiri too, where it's like just the fish on top of rice. You know?
Yeah, but I
Like a
love
nice little piece.
that. Just salmon with the seaweed on the outside now.
I do
people are
like seaweed
sleeping
just
on
in
that.
general.
Yeah. All right. Should we get back into the episode?
Oh yeah, the episode.
We
I know I was
derailed.
gonna derail. I mean, I was gonna derail us and talk about the Panera lemonade controversy, but we can save that news for another. Isn't it like? Have you heard about this? How they're
have not.
like heavily caffeinated and
Oh, that's crazy.
someone died.
What?
Yeah, like someone died.
No.
I heard about this through. This is another great podcast because I can't do and I don't want to do scary stuff while I'm pregnant. Like it's just not for my nervous system. But it's called Dark History, and she does different history stuff. And she did a deep dive into energy drinks and the history of them and how they used to put like cocaine and things. And then Panera lemonade apparently is heavily caffeinated, and some people didn't know it. So yeah, in 2024 they discontinued it because
Why would you
caffeine.
caffeinate lemonade? That's crazy.
Right, it's already sugary. But yeah, someone died.
All right. So, yes, we mentioned some fiber is nice. And sometimes, if we're so focused on juice, we are ignoring fruits and veggies. And then the other big thing, I think we talked about how it's a big hit of sugar, but I think specifically realizing how easy it is to overdo it. I think like juice, it's so easy to drink. And especially if you're undernourished in general, I think those tend to be the people who slam juice because they start allowing themselves the juice and then they're just like, oh, gimme. My body's like, gimme, gimme, gimme. So like if you're having 3 24-ounce glasses of orange juice throughout the day, perhaps this is overdoing it for you.
I like the accents that we snuck in here.
Minnie says perhaps all the time, and it's so funny.
With like a very heavy like Israeli accent or something.
No, she doesn't. She's just like, perhaps you want to. I'm like, what? Why do you say that? It's so cute.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I love hearing like the things that kids pick up on. You're like, well, that didn't come from us, but like, where did it come from? My friend Adrian came up with her 5-month-old and her 2.5-year-old, and I put out blueberries, raspberries, I had kiwi, and I heard that kids like they mow down fruit, right? So I put out an assortment. And
wait, do you know that reel? That's like
the fruit budget.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to tell you if my kids stop eating fruit, but there will be signs. And then it's just like that big yacht comes by, you know?
Yeah, it's expensive. And I had all organic, So we had that out and he's enjoying it. He's 2.5 and he just picks one blueberry up by the stem and he goes, this is a nasty one. I cannot eat this. And I was like, oh, sorry. But then he goes, is there kiwi around here? And I go, yes. Would you like one?
So silly.
Is there kiwi around here?
That's silly.
Yeah, so it is easy to overdo. And I think too, I mean, our lizard brain, if you haven't been eating, you didn't have a snack, you didn't have a nice breakfast with protein to front load your day, your brain's like, where can I get a quick hit of energy? And it's like, ooh, this fruit, super easy, that quick kindling on the fire to like juice me up, quite literally to juice me up on the spot. You're going to crave sugar.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
You're going to crave it. And then you're going to slam it. And then your blood sugar is going to crash and you're not going to feel so good.
Yeah. So we can't be slamming the orange juice and calling it an adrenal cocktail, because on the opposite end of that, you're going to crash and not feel so great. So yeah, don't like that. So
yes.
Shall we give them some context?
Yes.
For juice and fruits?
Yes,
and juicy
we
fruits?
should. Juicy fruits.
Yeah.
What are those
so some
commercials?
things, and that's gum. I'm thinking, yeah, that's
juicy
the gum
fruit.
that
Yeah,
like
yeah.
loses its flavor in like a minute, right?
Yeah, juicy fruit.
Or is that
I just
zebra
remember-
gum? Zebra gum.
I just remember the commercials. There was like something about juicy. Anyways, context. So like one big thing we need to ask ourselves is, where is your blood sugar at? Because slamming juice is not for everyone. We need to
Yes.
understand our blood sugar. And specifically, you need to understand what's going on with you. Are you capable of using that sugar in high quantity that you would get from a glass of juice? Or is it going to A, immediately spike your blood sugar and then lead to a massive crash? Or B, is that a big influx of calories for you and it's going to be stored as fat immediately because you have nowhere to put it?
Yeah. Important to look at. I mean, we have so many new clients who are kind of on this roller coaster of big peaks in energy and then big dips where they feel exhausted, especially after meals. That's a question I like to include on my intake form is, how do you feel like an hour after eating? Like, do you feel like your mental clarity is gone? Like the brain fog's there, you could lay down under your desk? I also like to think about what season people are in. And we've had some questions from listeners about like, how does all of this like trending diet advice or food advice fit for somebody who's later in their cycling season, their peri or maybe post menopause? Because in that stage of life, the way that you would approach carbs could very likely be a lot different than someone who is 20 and cycling, right? So there's nuance there. When I look at HTMAs, the hair tissue mineral analysis, there are a lot of things I like to look at, of course, alongside someone's food journal and their intake, but some things include calcium and magnesium. So what's that ratio like? Is it very high, very low, indicating that somebody might have a lot of like blood sugar imbalances or insulin resistance? And magnesium, I mean, we love it. You might have heard it as part of your tart cherry sleepy juice mocktail, right? But that's a main mineral that we're going to burn under stress, helps us relax, helps us go to sleep, helps us manage blood sugar. So many women that I work with, they're very stressed mentally and emotionally, burning through that magnesium. They're just also maybe depleted by it, is very depleted. And so they're not managing their blood sugar very well. So they're mentally, emotionally stressed, and then they have the physical stressor of their blood sugar being on these big highs and big lows. Some other things I like to look at on the HTMA, not blood sugar specific markers, but if their phosphorus marker is really out of whack, indicating that they're not eating enough protein, because that's important context that we also want to talk about next is how much protein are you eating at your meals, at your snacks, and just overall throughout the day.
Yes. And that, like, all of those pieces to me are just like, ladies, if you are not already focusing all of your workout attention on building muscle, please do it, because eating protein and building muscle are the magic pills to fortify your blood sugar into perimenopause, postmenopause, and beyond. We need muscle on our frame. We need it to help us balance our blood sugar, to make us more insulin sensitive, to give us a place to put sugar, because it's one of those chicken or the egg things. Because like Diane was talking about, if you are so stressed and your blood sugar is a big element of that stress, but juice and sugar, especially mineral containing juice and sugars, can be really soothing and can help us to manage those stressors. Especially you've heard about the adrenal cocktail on the internet, and it is really, really adrenal supporting. It helps us to support that stress response, but it does need to be consumed in context. You do need to balance that amount of juice and sugar with some protein if you are not capable of tolerating juice on its own, which so many people who come to us are not.
They're not ready for it yet. Like,
Yeah.
start, instead of doing like 4 ounces, 6 ounces, or like we said earlier, showing this visual of like, I don't know what this could be, like that would, up here it'd probably be like 12, 16 ounces of juice. And that's like a serving that you would get at a restaurant, right? Like that's just way too high. So especially for the peri post-menopause girlies, like start really low, and you could dilute that, or like have it with your breakfast or after breakfast, even better.
Mm-hmm. Or as we were going to talk about, around workouts too, like that can be a great way to get those minerals, that sugar, that's soothing to your stress hormones, soothing to your stress glands, but then giving your body something to do with it, right? Like you see when kids just like have too much sugar and get the zoomies, like that's their body trying to be like, yes, I gotta use the sugar.
Yeah, go juice. Because they probably aren't drinking coffee yet. So it's like kid coffee. Yeah, before workouts. But yeah, I'm thinking of clients who train like in the morning. Like, you're not just going to have like orange juice and then go train. Like, would love to have something else kind of easier to digest too. And these are things that we troubleshoot with our clients. But we spent some time talking on juice. Also, part of this conversation is building muscle and maintaining it, important note. And you have to do that by eating protein. And sometimes I'll see in journals that women are like, oh, I have meat like once a day maybe, or like a few times a week. And it doesn't have to be steak. Certainly we love it, but maybe it is that chicken, or maybe you are starting with fish if you came from more plant-based type approach, or maybe it's adding that extra egg to your breakfast because you only used to have one. But things that are going to be a lot more satiating and keep your energy and your blood sugar stable longer is great. And then we can pepper in some things like fruit and juices. But man, next time you go to a restaurant or somewhere where they serve smoothies, and just look at the menu and just notice how big the portions are of juice and of carbs in general. And I think it'll open your eyes to how imbalanced this is kind of broadly speaking.
Yes. So if you are really struggling with juice and carbs and you are consuming those all throughout your day and noticing, like we said, a ton of weight gain or just a lot of those blood sugar symptoms, like that crashing, that anxious energy, trouble sleeping, right? Like they're drinking the tart cherry juice to help them sleep, but like they're not sleeping.
But we didn't,
and
right,
they're not realizing that that's what's happening.
Almost like slapped my mic out of the way. Yeah, the Sleepy Girl mocktail has cherry juice, but like how much protein did we eat throughout the day? And I know this is something you talk about a lot, is like, are we having trouble sleeping, but we didn't move our body? We didn't discharge this energy.
Yeah.
Like I sleep so much better when I train earlier in the day. And sometimes you're in a season of life, like I know Adina is right now, or our postpartum clients and moms, like you train when you have to, but like we have to look at the rest of the day and not just think like this juice is gonna fix me.
Fix my whole life, you little shit.
You better fix my whole life. Yeah. And we touched on this earlier, is the juice and the gut connection. Are you someone who has allergies? Are you someone who specifically has a lot of stuffy congestion? If you're really being honest with yourself, don't do great with dairy. And so are you feeling itchy? Do you have eczema, itchy scalp? Do you have to go to the bathroom right after you have juice or some dairy? Then maybe this isn't for you right now, but some context or something that maybe you could think about right now is there are other forms of getting vitamin C in if you're trying to get in a soothing mineral-rich drink. So it doesn't just have to come from orange juice specifically. Maybe you do better with a different tropical fruit or lime juice or grapefruit juice. But beyond that, there are things like camu or other things that I'll have clients use if they don't tolerate vitamin C at high amounts right now.
Right. There are training wheels that we can look to if you are looking to work up towards being able to tolerate juice better. And like we said, it can be so confusing because it is so yummy and so soothing. And so like you can get so lost in the experience of that juice, that, you know, Sleepy Girl mocktail, that adrenal cocktail, whatever it is. And just the experience of sipping on it makes you feel so good. And then you kind of are blind to any symptoms that may be coming up afterwards or, you know, in the day or so following.
And I don't know how we made it this far without talking about salt. I mean, maybe you aren't doing well with those things, but it's so easy. Like we all have salt, I would hope, in our kitchens, like real salt, that you could add a pinch of that and just start there. It doesn't have to be like, I'm doing this mineral rich drink, I have to have the juice. Like there are other ways that you can stay hydrated in the summer. Maybe starting with something else, like adding cucumber to your water, like other ways to spice up your fruit or to make it spice up your water, make your water more fun and stay hydrated without starting with a bunch of juice, you know?
Yeah. And we didn't touch on this, but I did want to talk about also the ratios. Like we see so often where people are like slamming orange juice, but like not bringing any awareness to how low their potassium is. And
you might not know unless we do an HTMA, right?
Yeah.
So that's hard. But that is often really low.
Yeah, it's super common. And so maybe you don't love coconut water, but maybe that's a way better option for you and just like a little bit of juice.
Yeah. And also that with that too, not doing like a jug or a liter, a Kirkland liter of Costco coconut water, but starting with a little bit and maybe adding some ice to it, I think makes the taste a little bit more palatable for my clients who aren't too keen on
Make it
Yeah.
freezing.
Look, warm coconut water. Ugh.
Nope.
That's yeah. I've always had an aversion to that. But yeah, I think too, and touch on this, but I want someone to hear it who needs it, is if you have a lot of histamine issues, if leftovers, if orange juice and milk are causing some bubble guts, and now you're connecting the dots in this episode, in order to get your immune system to calm the cuss down and tolerate that, we got to work on the gut a little bit, especially your small intestine. So there are gentle ways that we do that while we are working on your minerals, your cycle, your metabolism, and other ways. But the opportunity, if you have a lot of allergies, is working on that gut. And then you can have some juice without the itchies, the brain fog, all that stuff.
Yeah. So to sum up, before we both share our mock cock o'clock for this week, it's a new segment. Basically, juice is wonderful and super hydrating, but it does contain a large hit of sugar straight to the dome. And so we need to be considering, can you tolerate, and in what context can that juice exist for you? Being mindful of histamine issues, being mindful of if you have a place to put that sugar. So focusing on building muscle, moving your body, and balancing out that juice with the consumption of protein. Maybe that's putting protein powder in your juice mixture. I know that can be supportive for people too, but just being mindful of in what quality, in what quantity, and what context are you consuming juice.
I can't imagine protein powder in a juice, but like in a smoothie
In
where
a
it's like
smoothie.
creamy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could
get down with
do
that.
like collagen powder in a orange juice, but I wonder if that's enough protein to balance the sugar in there. You know?
Or I'll have a meat snack on the side. That's probably more
works
likely
too.
scenario. Yeah. So okay. So what's your mock cock?
All right, mock cock o'clock around here is I just found this canned drink in Israel that's just organic juices and carbonation. And so there's a lemon lime one that's really yummy. And I mixed it with some coconut water and salt. And it was deloche.
Yum. Ooh, that sounds good. My current favorite, I've done a couple, but Trader Joe's yuzu. They have a Trader Joe's sparkling yuzu coconut water, and they're in a pretty small can. But again, I still don't drink the whole one, so I usually will split it with Neil or tuck it away. So I'll do a little bit of that, and then I like to add a little bit of an Olipop. So again, another one that I'm like opening all these containers and either like setting them
to
gently,
Neil.
yeah, putting them in the door, or like I just give him a drink and then he'll just take it. So I like lemon lime Olipop. So I'll do that combo of a little bit of coconut water, a little bit of the Olipop, and I'll dilute it a little bit more with like seltzer water. We have a lot of bubbles for someone who doesn't really like bubbles. And I like to add some fresh lime juice to it. If I really want to go crazy and make the glass look real cute, I might put some tahini around the rim.
Yum.
And then do a little bit of lemon lime Olipop. And I also have some herbal tinctures that I've been adding to that mock cock that are custom to me from my HTMA. So it turns this like cool green color. So then it really feels lemon lime and spicy.
Mine was such a boring one just because I just discovered this canned beverage. But you know what? Next week, I'll spice it up. I'll spice it up for
razzle
mock cock
dazzle.
o'clock. A little razzle dazzle.
I want to see what's in the can. Like what juices are in there, do you think?
It's lemon juice, lime juice, apple juice.
Maybe you said that.
I think.
Apple juice?
I'm trying to remember. But yeah, it's
Into it.
yummy. It's yummy. All right, well, there you have it. Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah, sometimes. And provided that you build in that muscle and eating that protein.
Yes, girlfriend.
That's the gist. And if you need help with any of that, building the muscle, getting that histamine tolerance right and that gut right so your allergies aren't freaking out all summer long, then call us. Well, don't
we know
call
some
us,
gals. Yeah,
don't call us. We don't use our phone for that, but we'll put information in the show notes for how to get your HTMA review for July, August, how to get your cutie booty, your strong functional booty into Adina's postpartum program.
Oh, the ladies are grabbing the postpartum program and we love to see it. I can't wait to serve up these mamas.
Yes, stay hydrated and
Stay
stay cool out
sassy
there.
and unclench that beehole.
Unclench.
Bye.
Bye. Cool. Thanks for listening to the GYST podcast. As always, your ratings and reviews mean the world to us.
If you enjoyed this episode, take a second, take a little screenshot, throw it up on your Instagram story, and tag us so we can thank you properly for sharing this show with other women that it might help.
See you next week. We love you. Bye.